This week we are checking out something that is really special, and it is the 2021 Lexus LC 500 convertible. Yeah, had to add that part because, in case you didn't notice, it's going topless. This is all new for the 2021 model year. It was revealed at the 2019 LA Auto Show, but it's just now making it to market. I've now been behind the wheel for a couple of days, and let's just say it's been a good couple of days. At the time of producing this vehicle, I have to be very honest with you, Lexus has not given us a lot of details. I'm going to be releasing this video on July 29th, and that's the embargo. However, I'm going to tell you I have this significantly before July 29th. So I do know some of the specs, and I do know some of the details, but I don't know exactly when it's going to be dropping, and I don't know any pricing information. All right, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about what I do know. Similar to the coupe, this will be equipped with a 5.0 liter naturally aspirated V8 engine. It'll deliver 471 horsepower and 398 pound-feet of torque. EPA estimates that you should get somewhere around 19 miles per gallon in combined driving, but I have to tell you, it's been a really good couple of days and I have gotten nowhere near that. I'm averaging just under 14 miles per gallon, and that's in mostly highway driving. Also, similar to the coupe version, it is worth noting that this is a front-engine, rear-wheel drive vehicle. While the interior is pretty simple, but elegantly crafted, the LC convertible is more than just a pretty face, and it has a lot of really interesting technology that you can and can't see. So first, it's worth noting that Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard, and there is also standard Alexa connectivity. I also want to point out Lexus appears to be very connected to their touchpad because this vehicle has that. However, they've updated it a little bit. It feels a little bit more solid touch, and they've added a couple of tuning dials and knobs so that it makes things at least a little less awkward. In case you missed it, still not a fan of the trackpad. Some other interesting technology that Lexus has added involves the fact that this is a convertible. So first, it's worth noting the top goes up and down, up to about 31 miles per hour, and it should take place in less than 15 seconds. I found that it actually worked a little bit faster than that. At least it seemed like it was faster than that. Also, it has kind of a customized HVAC system, and that's really interesting because if you set your heat up to 81, say, which even in the summer I will tend to do that, you'll notice your seats get warm and your steering wheel feels warm, and you get warm air that blows on the back of your hands. However, if you're like my husband, who is hot all the time, and you jack it down to the lowest setting, the seat cools, you'll get some cool air on the back of your neck, and air will blow in just the right places to cool down the upper part of your body. So this has dual climate control, which is also super helpful in a marriage like mine, where I'm always cold and he is always hot. So as we've been driving around this weekend, we were both able to adjust the temperature for what we wanted in this car, and we were both pretty comfortable. Plus, since the LC convertible is a Lexus, you may already know this, but safety is standard. So you will get the Lexus Safety Suite on the LC 500 convertible. It will include adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, automatic high beams, blind spot monitoring, and rear cross traffic alert. The one thing that I thought this vehicle was missing, however, was an around view monitor. I mean, it is great that you're gonna back into a garage and make sure you don't hit the rear wall. However, when you're pulling into a parking space that has a high marker, you definitely don't want to touch that with the low front bumper. So if I had one thing to add in terms of safety, please put in an around view monitor, at least make it available. Around view monitor aside, I had a blast driving this vehicle. It is fun, it is fast, and it is utterly gorgeous. Just the act of turning on the engine made me giggle a little bit because you could feel the engine vibration and hear the sound, and it just is something that is very visceral and just exciting. It gets your heart pumping right from the get-go. I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun merging on the highway, and while I don't have the exact 0 to 60 mile per hour times, I believe the coupe is at 4.4 seconds. While I didn't time it, I'm gonna say this was pretty close to that because I felt like I was blinking and I was already with the flow of highway traffic. Now I'm 4'11" and I weigh about 95 pounds, and I do fit in these sport seats and I found them really comfortable, but my elbows actually fit between the sport bolsters, whereas my husband, who's about 5'8" and 200 pounds, the seats totally gripped him in and he really liked how they felt as well. The one thing I would like to point out is you can see the belt line for this vehicle is a little bit higher, and Lexus did that on purpose because that helps with all of the wind noise and the wind buffeting, and you know, maybe kind of keeps your hair in place a little bit while you're driving with the top down. But for me, being a shorter driver, I found that I kind of felt like I was driving like this. So my visibility out of this vehicle, even with the top down, wasn't that great. So all those safety sensors really came in handy during the test week. Another thing that I'd like to point out is because of the angle of the windshield, visibility while it's raining isn't that great. The very first day that I had the LC convertible, it poured buckets, and by buckets I mean sheets and sheets of rain, very hard. And as I was heading out of my garage, it felt like the windshield wipers couldn't keep up with the speed of the rain that was dropping on the vehicle. I felt like I had to get really close to the windshield to be able to see the surface of the road. So if it's raining really hard, I do think your visibility will be just a little bit diminished. So keep that in mind if you don't test drive this vehicle when it is raining. Other than that, as a driver, I liked pretty much everything else about the LC convertible. And frankly, I really can't wait for the opportunity to drive this on a test track. Lexus, please let there be an opportunity to drive this on a racetrack. Now, I'd be remiss in ending this review without talking a little bit about the design. I know that the grille tends to be a little bit polarizing, but I love it, and it looks like an undulating wave, and it really works on the LC convertible. The other thing is, I really appreciate all of the design elements that tie this vehicle together inside and out. So Lexus is well known for its recurring motif L design, and you can see it here on the casings of the headlights, you can see it on the dash panel, you can see it inside the analog clock, and there's also a little insert inside the steering wheel that has that pattern as well. It just ties everything together. I think the details on the LC are pretty amazing, from the stitching to the feel of the knobs to the supple texture of the leather. Everything feels solid and really upscale and luxurious on the LC convertible. The interior is very minimalistic, but the details that they do include are just really special, well placed, and very pleasing to the eye. In terms of design, the LC convertible is one of those vehicles that is just well thought out and well planned all around. There are also a few surprise and delight features on this vehicle, and one of those happens to be the covering over the top controls. It's a little flip up top, and it almost makes me feel like a spy as I'm flipping up the top and getting ready to use the seat ejector or a rocket launcher, but instead I'm just putting the top up and down. At the end of the day, I'm super glad that Lexus has added a convertible back into its lineup, and this is a stunning display of everything that Lexus is. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, I don't have a lot of launch time details about the LC 500 convertible. I know it's supposed to drop this summer, and I know that the coupe price will start at $92,000. So I anticipate that the LC convertible will end up somewhere in the $100,000 range. So if I have that information at the time that the embargo lifts, I will certainly post the actual price at the bottom of this screen. So what do I want to say about the LC 500 convertible? I really liked it. You may previously have been familiar with the This vehicle first came out as a concept, and Lexus surprised us in the 2019 It'll deliver far So in addition to getting Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and this will also have some real-time connectivity showing you traffic on maps. Okay, I don't like that. Plus, the LC convertible being a convertible. However, when you're pulling into a parking space that has a high curb, around view monitor aside, I had a blast. I only had and as I was driving down the highway, and as I was heading down well, I also want to make sure that when I'm pulling into a parking space, I'm not going to hit a low bumper. Train.